right, Inga. You've locked yourself out, you silly girl. Don't forget it. This damn machine. What on earth is going on around here? Who's it? Is there someone there?
The human man. We must find him and kill him.
Whether invoked or not invoked, evil will come.
You run bastard! Come out! Coming out! I kill you! I kill you! Where are you? You murdering bastard!
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Wild Wild Podcast. This is either number 8 or number 9 in our season. I've lost count.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so have I, really.
I think there's 2 films left. I don't do enough preparation before we hit record. So anyway, welcome back everybody. Very exciting to be here. My name is Adrian Smith and I am joined as ever by Rod Barnett. Hello Rod.
Hello everyone.
And how are things with you over in the good old US of A?
Not too bad. I mean, I could complain about my soon-to-be replaced hip, but no one needs to hear all that crap.
Wow. Are you going to live podcast
that? No, I'm going to not live podcast that at all. I have debated for the entirety of 2026 whether I should talk about it at all in a podcast, right. Even in a glancing way. And considering that now I know what the surgery date is, which is the last day of August, it's going to be very difficult, especially the last 2 weeks, because even the pain mitigation medication that I'm currently on can't be used like 10 days before the surgery. So I am going to be in agony even more than I normally am. So,
Rod, that sucks.
Yeah, it's on the other side, everybody says the same thing. It is a wonderful thing, and you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. So,
well, you could ask for local anesthetic, and then you could record the whole thing while it was going on and put that out as a Patreon episode.
No, I have a strict rule. Anytime someone's cutting into my body, I want to be unconscious. So.
Fair enough. Well, we all wish you the best of luck when that comes around.
Thank you.
And is there anything in our little plug zone here that you want to mention that's coming out or announced or anything like that?
Well,
either
as far as
your own podcasts or
as far as podcasts are concerned, I'm recording a couple before the end of the month. Mark Clark and I are going to be starting a brief series of 4 podcasts focused on the original Planet of the Apes sequel movies. We're not going to cover the first movie because everybody knows it, everybody loves it, and we'd be just retreading the same ground. But we feel we have something to bring to the 4 sequels. So we're going to start with Beneath the Planet of the Apes. That will not be out until September, mainly because I'm having surgery at the end of the month. So
yeah,
and also hopefully I'm getting Troy and I will be getting the Universal Horrors of the 1940s series back on track with The Mummy's Curse before the end of the month, before the end of August. If I'm very lucky, we'll get that recorded in the next week or 2, and I will get that out before the end of this month. Fingers crossed.
Great. And have you had any commentary tracks that you've done that are not yet, that are now announced that weren't before?
The only one is the last one you and I did, Sinful Nuns of St. Valentine. So other than that, no. Okay,
that's true. Great. I don't think I've got anything in particular to mention that I've been up to that's been announced anyway. And I've got a couple of things I'm working on over the summer, but again, all very hush-hush. I have to mention, however, just a couple of things. I know a year ago when I talked about Weird Worcester, I got lightly mocked for all the name dropping I was doing in that episode. But I will just mention it briefly here. because it was really cool. So I went to Weird Worcester again a couple of weeks ago, and I was asked, I got there, it was about 9:10 in the morning. The thing was supposed to start at 10 o'clock. I was waiting to find out what they wanted me to do. And then at about 9:45, the organizer, Graham, said, "Would you mind being Luigi Cozzi's PA for the weekend?" Honestly, I felt like I'd won the lottery. So that was me. I spent the whole weekend looking after Luigi and his wife and helping them with all the autograph people and being in the right place for the Q&A and for his photo shoots. And yeah, I only cocked it up once and took him to the Q&A when he was actually supposed to be in the photo shoot. So that was a classic mistake I made there. But it was really fun. He was doing photo shoots on his own, but also with Caroline Munro and, with a few other people. So yeah, it was, I felt very lucky to be there. And there were loads of other guests. It was really cool. And some of whom had not been to the UK before, like Al Cliver, who just seemed to spend most of the weekend smoking. And, but he was pretty cool. And yeah, it was such a fun thing. And because I was helping out, it was just sort of random stuff would occur. Like I saw a moment where I had a chance where it was quiet to see if I could go and get Fabio Testi's autograph. And then while I was there, he was trying to work out what to do because his girlfriend was getting in on the train from Birmingham. So I just said, "Oh, hey, I can go and collect her." So the next thing I knew, I'm driving to Worcester train station and giving Fabio Testi's girlfriend a lift.
Okay.
Now, she didn't know me, I didn't know her, so it took a while before we found each other, but anyway, so it was really fun.
That is see, I would be in a moral quandary, but that's just me.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy. And then I got to hang out with Ottaviano Dell'Acqua.
Oh, yeah.
He was a really nice guy, super friendly. So while I was there, I took the opportunity to get a couple of little brief interviews, which I shot on camera, and I will drop the audio in here. Now, I sent these to you, so you've already watched these. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was a good chance, because we'd obviously talked about Ottaviano Dell'Acqua quite a lot on here a few episodes ago, because he was the co-star of Double Target.
Right.
Obviously, that film is going to be high on our list at the end of the season. So anyway, so I asked him what it was like to work on that film, and particularly working with Miles O'Keeffe. So, and he was very generous about Miles O'Keeffe. He didn't just slag him off and say, "What a terrible actor." He was really nice about him. So here it is.
Okay, I'm working with Miles O'Keeffe in Double Target. Yes, it's a difficult movie because Miles, he doesn't want nothing. I understand double to Miles O'Keeffe. I'm running when the helicopter shot down to the land. It's a nice. I think it's a nice movie. It's an Italian movie. Is the budget is not big a budget, ma low budget, and the director is fantastic, and so penso che Miles O'Keeffe è una grande persona. Is a big person, Miles O'Keeffe, and I love that. Grazie.
Tell me the story about him visiting prisons.
Yes, Miles would go to the jail to visit the people stay in the jail, and only for speaking with them. Hello, how are you? Sometime ago. It's a fantastic.
Yeah. And what was Bruno Mattei like?
Bruno Mattei
Mattei
it's not the director, is a brother for me, because I started with actor for Bruno Mattei. Is a very big friend. Bruno Mattei is a fantastic person. Is a smoke a lot. Smoke all time with up. But it's a nice direct. It's nice.
I thought it was particularly interesting where he talked about how Miles O'Keeffe used to go and visit people in prison.
Yeah, yeah. That's an odd thing to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got hidden depths. Clearly, just
Regardless of his shallow affect. Yes.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so Ottaviano was a really fun guy. He was walking around the whole weekend looking like a rock star, wearing this kind of snakeskin jacket, and he was just. He looked like he was having the time of his life. He was so friendly. And I had a really interesting conversation with him over dinner. And I asked him about the circus. I was like, what, which is it for you? Is it the circus or movies, really? And he said, the circus is my life. The movies is for the money.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Because he grew up in a circus family. His parents were circus people. Him and all his siblings are circus people. And now his own children also are circus people. So the Dell'Acqua family circus is still touring around Italy.
Amazing.
Which is pretty awesome. Yeah. So that was very cool to get to be friends with him. But then also I had to talk to Luigi Cozzi about Donald Pleasence.
Yeah.
Because we're not actually covering... Are we covering Paganini horror? Is that on our list? I don't think it is it?
Okay,
Anyway.
look, we're going to have to just bring the
I'm going to
list
have to
up.
look at the list.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, we'll look at the list whilst I play this clip. So I asked Luigi Cozzi what he was like, because he worked with Donald Pleasence 3 times on Phenomena, because Cozzi did the special effects on Phenomena. And then again on Paganini Horror, and then also on Nosferatu in Venice, because Cozzi was one of the many people directing that film. And he told me some funny stories about that one. But anyway, so here he is. I asked him what it was like to work with Donald Pleasence. So here he goes.
Well, he was a very professional actor. It's always present on the set. I remember I worked with him 3 times. The first time was while I was doing the second unit and the special effects of Dario Argento Phenomena, Creepers. And he was the professor who studied the insects. Second time, it was on the set of Nosferatu in Venice, which was a very confusing set. Quite a confusing set, thanks to Mr. Klaus Kinski. And the fact that the director had left the picture on the second day of shooting because of a quarrel with Kinski. And the third time was I selected Donald to do a role in my Paganini horror movie in 89. And I remember, and particularly on Nosferatu in Venice, where Kinski was like a storm on the set, making a lot of confusion, changing, screaming, and a lot of crazy things happening on that set. And Donald Pleasence just waiting to be called on the set, sitting aside from the camera, just or sleeping or reading a book, waiting for him to be called, acting. And he was very serious, absolutely serious. And when I finally directed him in Paganini, he was very, easy to work with, because he read the script, we discussed the script, but no discussion. He already understood the black humor behind his character and the way to play it with black humor. And he did everything by himself. I did not need to be really directed. He was such an expert actor that he could understand the character by himself and turn it into a live person. And so it was a real pleasure to work with him. He lived in that time, he lived, I think, in Cannes or near Cannes in France. And so it was very easy to come to work to Rome for him. And my picture, he was in the picture, the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. But actually, he shot with us for 3 days. That's all he did. You watching the picture, I have the impression that he is always there. But he was a kind of guest star for the picture. He gave champagne to the crew at the end of his last shot. And everybody was very happy with him and very easy to work with.
That's nice. Yeah, he does seem like a really nice man.
Yeah, he really was absolutely.
On Phenomena, was he worried about working with that chimp? Were there any issues?
No, everything went easy. The chimp had a trainer. The animal did everything the trainer asked it to do, and so everything was very very easy. Also on that set, which was a much complicated set because of the animals, the insect, the special effect.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay, ciao.
And not a surprise to learn that everyone loves Donald Pleasence.
No, that doesn't surprise me at all. Everyone's all
No.
There's almost a universal love for the guy if you worked with him, apparently.
So did we determine what films we've got left?
No, here it is. Okay, so no, we did not put Paganini horror on the listing. If you want to do 11 films in this series, I am more than willing to put Paganini horror on the agenda.
Right, maybe we need to throw that in as a bonus.
Why not? Why not? Because I mean, the next two, I think we need to hang on to because one of them is really rare, one of them is not, and then. Throwing Paganini horror, that's another one that's pretty easy to get hold of because it was issued on Blu-ray. So yeah,
we didn't do that one in our Luigi Cozzi season. I'd forgotten
that. No, we did not.
Yeah. Okay, well, there we go. You heard it here first, folks.
We're extending this season to 11 films because this season has not taken long enough to produce.
No, exactly. Speaking of which, if anyone has got any requests or suggestions for what we should do for either our next mini season or full season, because we haven't decided yet on anything.
Yeah.
So we're definitely open to suggestions. Now you might want to suggest peplum films. So there's still a couple of big genres that we haven't tackled. One of which is the peplum.
Yeah.
We've got Eurospy we haven't really done. Spaghetti westerns we haven't done.
Well, I'm looking forward to our eventual season focused on the 80s sword and sorcery stuff. So
yes, there is the Conan the Barbarian exploitation films.
Exactly.
So there's a few options. And let us know if you've got any particular requests that we can consider. But anyway, so there you go. That's all my name dropping in terms of that weekend. So if any of you are on the fence about attending Weird Worcester, if you're in the UK, it's definitely worth going to. And this one was bigger than last year's and will probably get bigger again next year. So definitely do try and check it out. Also, last weekend, I went to Milan for a few days where it was so hot, like too hot to be particularly, to properly enjoy it. But while I was there, it was great fun. And I bought some fumetti and all that sort of stuff, including I spotted they are reprinting original 1960s Criminal comics. So I was able to buy one of those, which was really cool. But I went to a shop there that has a great reputation called Bloodbuster, which their tagline is all of cinema from B to Z. which I like a lot. I think that's very clever. And it is full of vinyl. Just every soundtrack was great, and posters and books. Pretty much all the books were in Italian, but so many great books. I could have bought all of them if any of them had been in English. And tons of Blu-rays, DVDs, and toys and stuff. It was great. And I ended up buying a Franco and Ciccio poster.
Oh my.
It was the Lucio Fulci one where they go into space that we covered in about episode 2 of the podcast.
Operation Luna.
Yeah. So I have now an original locandina for that, which is... I couldn't resist. It's a great poster, even if they are an acquired taste. Actually, I was talking to Luigi Cozzi about them and about their comedy, and he said that the problem is that one of the reasons that they don't translate these into English, and this probably puts the kibosh on you and I launching our multi-volume Franco and Ciccio box set series. He said the problem is that they're not even speaking proper Italian.
Really?
Because they're both from the South, and they are very clever at wordplay. So they're using a kind of mixture of Southern slang and playing on words in Italian. So you have to be a fluent Italian speaker to get most of the jokes.
Now that would explain would explain a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's why it doesn't translate very well, and why nobody's particularly bothered to translate their films into English. So, which is kind of a shame. But anyway, regardless, I now own 2 Franco and Ciccio original posters, which is in danger of becoming a collection. So I'm going to have to be careful.
And that's easily 10 more than I will ever own.
Yeah, 2. I've only got 2, not 10.
Yeah,
2.
I wanted to go negative, man. So.
Yes, no, I see. Yeah. Anyway, if any of you ever own Milan, I recommend Bloodbuster. It's really, really cool. There's a shop a bit like it in Paris called Metaluna, if any of you have ever been there. Very similar sort of vibe. But it was great. So I'm going to try and contact the owner of Bloodbuster and see if I can get them on the podcast at some point for a bonus episode.
Cool.
To talk about their shop, because it was really, really cool. I could have bought vinyl, but the temperature was so hot, I thought there's no way I could get this record home without it just being warped to, beyond all playability. So I didn't buy any, but they had some great stuff, including the original Star Crash soundtrack on vinyl.
Oh wow!
Which I don't own that, but several people brought that with them to get Luigi Cozzi to sign, and I was so jealous. People had these amazing, huge Star Crash posters and soundtrack albums, and I was getting serious envy looking at those. But anyway, I think the best time to go to Milan, or indeed Italy in general, is probably in the winter, because it was so hot. It was almost unbearable for a pasty Brit.
This summer has been vicious here, but apparently, well, I mean, do they know what air conditioning is in Italy at least?
In some places, but not a lot of places. My apartment that I was in didn't have aircon. So it was pretty brutal.
Man.
But anyway, I love Italy, and I went to Lake Como, which was particularly exciting for me. And my train, I didn't stop there, I didn't have time, but my train went through Monza.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you and I have talked about the Nun of Monza a few times in commentary tracks, including our Sinful Nuns of St. Valentine one. So if I'm ever back over that way, I will go for a day out in Monza and see if I can find the Nun of Monza's convent.
You could walk around in a habit and wimple and see if you attract any sinful nuns.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, but not in
not
summer,
in this
that's
heat.
what I'm
No.
saying. No. Anyway, so enough of all that. I've talked about Italy for too much. We need to get on to our film for this episode, which is, I would say, probably one of the highlights of the season. Certainly one that people have been looking forward to.
I agree.
It is another Ruggero Deodato film, and we are in the horror / giallo zone here. with a film with many titles: Un delito poco comune, Off Balance, or as I know it, Phantom of Death. What did you think of the score?
Well, I'm a fan of Pino Donaggio in the first place. I always, of course, associate him with Brian De Palma films, which is where I was first introduced to his music in the first place. And I think his work here is exactly what I would expect from him. I was shocked to learn that initially he was not a composer. He kind of became a composer after having been a vocalist for a long period of his career, and well, at the beginning of his career anyway. And I always associate him with rising tension, although his music is often beautifully put together to evoke, I don't know, kind of an older kind of scoring for film. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. It reminds me a good bit of the kind of stuff that you would expect out of Hollywood in the 50s and 60s for kind of picture stuff. Which is why I think it was such a good marrying of him with Brian De Palma, who in a lot of the films that Donaggio scored for him was doing his best Hitchcock impersonation, and I think that works. It's good music. I really enjoy it, and I've rarely found a Pino Donaggio score that I did not find to be a positive addition to any film he's working on.
Yeah, because our hero, well, not really hero, our main character.
Oh yeah, I was about to say.
In this film is a pianist, and so there's a long section where he's playing this piece, which is obviously something that Donaggio has composed, and it's very good, and it does feel like something you might actually have a concert pianist playing. Mm-hmm. It fits really well with what the character is supposed to be able to play. It's suitably dramatic as well for the film. It's very good.
Oh, it's very good stuff.
So, let's talk about the titles, shall we? Because they're all a bit odd. So in Italian, I said it's Un delito poco comune, which translates as an uncommon crime. Is it an uncommon crime? It's just a guy murdering people. That's a fairly common crime, isn't it? It's
an uncommon disease the character is suffering from, but I don't know about the crime.
Exactly. So that's one title that doesn't really make sense. Then Off Balance.
Don't know. I'm not.
What is that?
Well, I will say this, and this is part of the conversation that I was wondering when I would fit it in. That we can kind of start here and see if it tendrils out through the rest of the conversation. But if you're going to call this Off Balance, I think it works if you take it from the perspective of the fact that this movie is either not sure how it wants us to think of the Michael York character, or that is intentional. It is intentionally putting us in the position of feeling sympathetic toward him and feeling like somebody needs to put him down like the rabid dog that he is. So Off Balance, I'm sure that that title was taken to be something along the lines of, a mad killer. He's off balance. He's mentally unhinged in some way or another. But from the perspective of following whoever I guess is our main character here, although I guess the hero of the film really is played by Donald Pleasence, we would have to think of it as a description of him and a description of his mental state.
Yeah. And it's interesting, there's in the book that I'm going to be using a bit throughout this episode, Cannibal Holocaust and the Savage Cinema of Ruggero Deodato, which I've mentioned before on this podcast. It's very good. It says apparently Deodato was not very fond of this film because he claimed that the sympathy we feel for York because of the onset of his disease serves to soften the dynamics of a thriller which requires the audience to loathe its killer. So I guess we feel sorry for him and what he's going through. So the audience is perhaps also thrown off balance in terms of how they're supposed to feel about him. And the film as well is kind of off balance because is it a giallo? Is it a poliziesque?
Is it a sympathetic drama about a hideous disease? I mean, what?
I know. This could all... That's what I was thinking while I was watching it. If it wasn't for the murders, this could be a TV movie of the week.
In a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, there's an entire undercurrent of... I mean, I don't know how much we want to spoil this thing, but there is an undercurrent of pearl clutching, kitchen sink drama in the whole aspect of, shall we say, passing on this particular disease to the next generation. So.
Yeah, you can just imagine the continuity announcer. And up next we have Off Balance, and at 4 p.m. we have The Boy in the Bubble, and it's like those kinds of.
And at 6 p.m. Do you really know your husband?
Yeah, so there's a bit of that about it as well. It's an interesting film. And then, of course, we've got the title Phantom of Death.
Which is what I've always thought of this film. That's the title I saw this movie under, but it's not. Let's in the final analysis, I have to say I think Phantom of Death really does feel kind of wedged into the thing.
Yeah.
The couple of scenes with him riding around during walking around during a festival in Venice, wearing a Phantom of the Opera mask, really kind of feels unnecessary. It feels as if they were stretching to try to use the word phantom.
They just padding it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's from Venice. We see him go back to Venice to visit his mum. And we've got these scenes of Carnivale, and he's walking around with his mask on, and he goes back to visit his first prostitute, which is a touching moment for them both.
Oh, it's a touching moment for anyone,
nostalgic, I think. Yeah. You never forget your first.
Never forget your first prostitute.
And but then it's interesting, I was trying to work it out, and I don't think it ever tells us where the film is set. But I believe it was, unless I've got this wrong, I believe it was shot in Rome, apart from the Venice stuff. So I don't know whether he's driven to, or he's gone to Venice, but he's gone back home for a couple of months to see his mum. Whether the rest of it is set in Rome, it's kind of hard to tell. But according to the IMDb, and I think it might even be in the credits, Perugia is mentioned, which is all the way down in the south. So it's a little bit confusing about where this is supposed to be. But the Venice stuff is quite atmospheric. It's always fun to see Venice in a film. But I think you're right. It's kind of shoehorned in just so that they can call it the Phantom of something.
Right. And it's understandable. I mean, it's certainly a smart marketing ploy.
Mm-hmm. So I watched this on my Shameless DVD.
Ah, okay.
And the print that they took it from, when the title comes up, it says Off Balance in white and Phantom of Death in red, both at the same time. So both titles are on screen at the same time.
Oh, that's odd.
Which is really weird. What does it say on the version you've got?
Well, I have the Cauldron Blu-ray set that came out a couple of years ago, and it just says Off Balance in white.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Are there any extras on the one you've got?
No, not on this one. So this is in the box set Deodato's Cinema of Death, where they put 3 of their Deodato films into one box. And of course, Shameless now have a bit of a bad rap. But like 10, 15 years ago, Shameless were at the forefront here in the UK of putting out Italian exploitation, kind of before anyone else was. So although they were a bit thin on the ground and their prints weren't always amazing, like they were the ones who first put out Cannibal Holocaust here, and they did the director's cut of that with him, where they were kind of censoring some of the worse animal stuff. But so this box set has got Cannibal Holocaust, House on the Edge of the Park, and Phantom of Death, all in the same box. So there aren't many extras in here. There is some video footage of him when he was at a festival in London back in, I think it was 2010 or 11, where they had a discussion panel with him and one of the censors from the BBFC and an academic and Giovanni Lombardo Radici, who was there providing translation into Italian. And they were talking about the house on the edge of the park. So that all got videoed, and so that's on here. Incidentally, I was there when they recorded that, and I took some photos with my good camera that I had at the time. And I used to be a very active member of the Cult Labs forums, which I don't know if anyone else listening remembers Cult Labs, but it was great. Shameless were very active on there, and Arrow Video, and a few other labels, and they used to have competitions, which I was always winning, and lots of discussions. It was really good. So I posted some of my photos from that event on the Cult Labs forum. And then, I don't know however long later, I won one of the weekly competitions they had, and my prize was this box set. And imagine my surprise when I got the box, and I looked at it, and on the back is my photo of Ruggero Deodato.
Nice.
They'd used without my permission.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Which was cool. It was like I was pleased. Obviously, they think it's a good photo. But I emailed them. I'm like, hey, so I took that photo. You didn't ask me. So they basically just sent me some free stuff, which was fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we, Shameless deserve our what's the word I'm looking for? They deserve to be praised for the work they did in those early days of DVD and bringing out all kinds of obscure stuff that now people like Arrow and Vinegar Syndrome and Cauldron and everyone's doing much better versions, but Shameless did it first and they did it cheaply. so we could afford to buy this stuff without each special edition costing about 50 quid. So anyway, so I was a big fan of Shameless. So anyway, so that's all I've got. I've still just got it on DVD, so that's what I watched it on. And it's clearly from an older master, and it doesn't look great, but it was fine. It was good enough. But yeah, so what kind of extras have they got on the Cauldron Blu-ray?
There are two significant extras. One is a commentary track with Eugenio Ercolani and Troy Howarth.
Those guys. I think I've heard of them.
I've heard of them, but they're obscure. Yeah. Don't turn up much on commentary tracks on European films ever. It's kind of wild. And the best of the extras is as always is an interview with the director. This was
cool.
It's about 23 or 25 minutes long, and I'd say it's a very informative and very interesting not commentary, but interview with him. But he talks about how it was filmed in 2022, so it's not long before he passed away. And it is sad to note how he feels a little, and he goes out of his way to talk about how he feels a little melancholy when he looks back at his career. But he does talk a good bit about the film at hand, and he talks in general also about what it was like moving into the 80s when there were fewer producers, and he felt that they were more prudish than the producers that were around and about in the 70s. There were fewer producers, and they didn't really seem to want to take chances. They were very cautious, didn't want to take risks, and so that kind of tamped down on the types of films that he was able to make. And he clearly thinks that the stuff that he was able to make in the late 70s was more interesting than the stuff that he was allowed to make in the 1980s. Which, I mean, I kind of agree with him, but at the same time, just glad that it got made regardless.
I mean, some of those 80s films are not to be sniffed at. You got things like Cut and Run and The Barbarians. There's some fun stuff in there still.
I don't know. There's some stuff in there that I thoroughly enjoy. but his attitude toward it does seem to be rather muted, and although he still seems to be open and willing to talk about a whole lot of that kind of stuff, which was great. But you're right. I think what's weird for me with his 80s stuff is that I kind of have a lot more affection for his 80s stuff than I think he did. Which I mean, because I'm a fan of the backwoods slasher film Body Count that he made in '86, and I have finally fallen under the sway of the genius that is the Barbarians, as you mentioned. And I think Dial Help is a fun little movie he made in '88.
I don't think I've ever seen that one, actually. That's the one he made after this, isn't it? But
yeah, that one's a little harder to find from what I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I, of course, cannot even remember how I got my hands on it, he said, glancing off to the side.
I've never seen The Washing Machine either, have you?
No, that's one I have not seen.
Yeah.
I need to because, I mean, it certainly sounds interesting. I mean, it's from the 90s, and so...
Yeah, there's still, even though I'm a big fan of Deodato, looking through his list of films, there's still several that I've not seen. Plus, he spent a lot of that period, so the late 80s and into the 90s and 2000s, directing stuff for Italian television, which we'll probably never see unless Severin do some kind of deep dive box set. But he was always working anyway. He wasn't one of these guys who was suddenly out of work. He just wasn't working in horror all the time.
Right.
But we love Deodato. We've talked about him a lot on this podcast. We've covered several of his films, going all the way back. And I came on your podcast years ago, maybe 10 years ago, to talk about his very first movie, Hercules, Prisoner of Evil.
This is true.
So, yeah.
Boy, we've talked about Hercules, Prisoner of Evil, Gungala, the Black Panther Girl.
Uh-huh.
We talked about Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man. On Bloody Pit, you and I talked at length about Cannibal Holocaust.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man, we even did Atlantis Interceptors, or, Raiders of Atlantis.
And we did the what's his name, Phenomenon and the Treasure of Tutankhamun.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot all about that. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we've covered a lot of Deodato films, and I mean, I'm assuming that means eventually we'll get around to Concord 79.
Oh, I hope so. And of course, you and I just did the commentary track for Waves of Lust.
This is true.
Which is out now, folks, on
Raro Video.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of love for Deodato, lovely man, and a very interesting and varied career. So where would you place this film in terms of sort of quality against some of his other films?
Well, that's just it. I kind of break his films into two periods, and that's not because of anything that's we did Zenabel too in '69.
Oh yes.
Oh my goodness, we've covered a lot of Deodato films. Anyway, I kind of break his films down from into roughly before Cannibal Holocaust and after Cannibal Holocaust. Those are that's the break point, in my opinion, for his work. Because I think things changed. Yes, he did do Last Cannibal World before Cannibal Holocaust, but Cannibal Holocaust is the film in 1980 that really kind of changed everything for him. And he'd had success before then, but that's the movie that he's always going to be known for. I'm surprised that it's, the title isn't chiseled into his tombstone, for goodness sake. But I think the stuff that came after that easily divides itself into, 60s and 70s, and then you have the 80s and 90s stuff and the few things he made in the 2000s. And if I'm going, since that means I'm lumping this in with the stuff he made in the 80s, it's actually one of my favorites from the 80s because it is more complex in what it's attempting to do.
Yeah.
I enjoy, I would say, quite honestly, I probably enjoy Cut and Run and Body Count more. The Phantom of Death it's a respectable movie, and I'd have to really kind of watch, if I were to like go through, I still need to see The Washing Machine, and I would like to rewatch Dial Help because I've only ever seen it once, just to kind of decide whether, where it kind of falls. But this one is I don't know that I can name it my favorite, but it is definitely in the top 3 or 4 from that he produced in that 80s period. So
Yeah.
pretty strong. There is one that I've never gotten around to, and I keep meaning to track down, and I have not. And I should seek it out. Have you seen The Lone Runner?
No.
From 1986. There's Ruggero Deodato as director that's pulling me toward it, and there's Miles O'Keefe as the star that's pushing me away. So.
Well, it's sending you off balance.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay.
I mean, it also has Mr. Dell'Acqua.
Okay.
And John Steiner. So I really I really should kind of pull the trigger. It also has Ronald Lacey, who everyone would know as the scumbag Nazi who melts at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, loved Ronald Lacey. No, that's interesting. No, I don't know that one at all. I mean, probably his 80s movie it's kind of only just an 80s movie, but the one that I think is probably better than this one is House on the Edge of the Park.
Oh, it's that, and that's a nasty piece of work, yeah.
But it is, yeah, it is. This one, I think that's a better film, but this one is more like, I don't know, entertaining, if you know what I mean. Whereas that one is quite nasty, but I think it fits it's got more of a point. There's like more kind of political and social commentary in that one than there is in this one, which is effectively just a bit silly, ultimately. But yeah, I mean, so much to choose from. And yeah, clearly both of us have got gaps that we need to fill. I don't even know if I've seen that Concorde one either, now that I think about it.
I've only seen parts of it. I'm not even, yeah. That's another one I would have to go out of my way to seek out, if you know what I mean.
Yes, maybe we need to do some kind of Italian disaster movie exploitation season, or at the very least, like Italian. I mean, this would be easier, wouldn't it? Italian knockoffs of films set in the water, so we could incorporate shark films.
I have an alternate idea for a series of mini seasons called filling in the gaps. Take a director and just see them, and just force ourselves to see the movies that we've not watched.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that could work. And hey, let us know which directors you think that could be included in that. I mean, there's so many who've got these huge CVs. I mean, even people like Mario Bava, there are gaps there of the more sort of obscure stuff that doesn't get paid much attention to. That could be interesting. And Fulci, there's loads of Fulci.
True.
I mean, you have to realise a lot of it would turn out to be comedies, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're fine with that. I'm gritting my teeth and realizing that I've just walked into a bear trap. But yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's talk about Phantom of Death. So, we just also mentioned, actually, before we get into the movie, Deodato has a cameo in this movie. Did you spot him?
Oh, yeah, he's easy to spot.
Yeah.
If you know what he looks like, he's easy to spot. Plus, it's wonderful that in the interview, they actually point that out and illustrate it by a clip from the film. But yeah, he smoking a cigarette in silhouette and then hops onto a moped with a young woman.
It's very Hitchcockian. He's really playing into that idea, because obviously Hitchcock used to introduce himself with his silhouette first.
Oh, and now I'm kind of curious. I don't know. I mean, that's an obvious cameo, but I do now wonder how many cameos Deodato did over the course of his career.
I do know that he's in Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man near the beginning.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question. If anyone knows, if you've spotted him in any other movies, let us know. But yeah, here he introduces himself with his silhouette, and then it's a nice kind of false moment of jeopardy, and then straight away we're into another gory murder, which is what you'd expect in this kind of film. So, cast. Let's talk about the cast. First of all, we do, of course, have Donald Pleasence, who is not just popping in for a couple of days' work this time.
No, Donald Pleasence, as I stated earlier, I think is, it would be best situated if we thought of him as the main character of the story.
Yeah. He is committed to the shoot. He is in the whole thing from beginning to end, which is fun. So in Italian, he's known as Ispettore Dati, but in the English language track, they call him Daddy, which I thought was quite funny. It's just Inspector Daddy. Yeah.
Very odd. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, he is a father. He has a pretty much grown daughter in the film that he lives with. But.
I don't think she calls him Daddy, which seems like a missed opportunity. And he is up against the pianist Robert Dominici, played by Michael York, who is a great British actor who's been around for, well, decades, basically. Started acting in the 60s, still working today. Just one of those guys who has been in everything. You might know him from such films as Austin Powers, which is really fun.
Yeah.
To see him in all of those.
Oh, the things that you might know him from are varied and multitudinous.
Yeah.
Yes.
I probably know him best from Cabaret. I think that's the first time I saw him, or maybe The Musketeers.
Yeah, The Three and the Four Musketeers are where I first made his acquaintance. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, because he's D'Artagnan, of course.
Exactly.
Which is really good.
Of course, he plays Tybalt in the Franco Zeffirelli Romeo and Juliet from '68,
yes.
which I encountered after I encountered the Three and the Four Musketeers. He's fantastic. And of course, that's a brilliant version of Romeo and Juliet from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. And then, unfortunately, he did actually have a period where he had a very bad illness that caused quite unpleasant side effects for him and put him out of action for quite a while. I don't think it was making him prematurely age, but it was certainly affecting how he looked, because I saw some pictures of him from I think it was like a cabaret reunion, and he did not look well, poor guy. But my understanding is that he's had some treatment and is much better and is sort of working again, which is really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is he's one of those actors who I anytime he pops up, I know, well, at least there's something interesting in this movie. And when I learned a few, I guess it's several years ago at this point, that he had this really rare disease, I did not make a connection to this film. But
I wonder if he did.
He probably did. That's one of the more interesting things about him is he's a diary keeper. He's someone who's journaled his entire life, and so when he sat down to do his autobiography, he's actually I think he's done two. One called Accidentally on Purpose and Traveling Player. He had this extensive backlog of all these memories he'd written contemporaneously to pull from for those books. And so,
that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So you get all this wonderful, wonderful stuff, these wonderful details of productions and what he was thinking about and how he went about doing what he was trying to do. And it's wonderful to have that for an actor who's had such a long and varied career. I mean, good Lord, he's Logan 5 from Logan's Run, people. That should put him in the pantheon right there.
Yeah.
So, let's not forget, he was in the 1977 version of The Island of Dr. Moreau, and, with those wonderful blow-dried animals in that. It's still the weirdest look. That is still the weirdest look that has ever been given to the Dr. Moreau animal creatures. But...
And at the height of swinging London, he was in the film Smashing Time in 1967, which is a film that sort of satirizes swinging London and the cool Britannia thing, but it's satirizing it right in the middle of it at the height of the summer of love of 67.
Oh wow.
So that's an interesting film to watch, Smashing Time.
I've never seen that. That sounds
it's good. It's weird. It's a musical, and it's kind of taking the mickey out of the 60s whilst the 60s are still sort of happening around it, which is interesting. But yeah, he's in that one.
Oh, that sounds weird. And I honestly thought that the weirdest thing connected to Michael York that could be deemed a partial musical was the 1973 version of Lost Horizon, which is
Oh, yes.
truly bizarre.
Yeah. Well, let's not forget, of course, his role in Handy Manny about 15 years ago. So,
What was this?
I'm sure. Yeah, it was a kid's cartoon, Handy Manny.
Oh, okay. Well, careful or I'll whip out the fact that he did a great job in an episode of Babylon 5 in the 90s. So
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, so it's great news anyway that he's still working. And but yeah, so what do you think of his performance in this film?
I think it's very good, and I think it's also he's being asked to do a difficult thing. I would say that I was a little shocked in the interview with Deodato when he was talking about Donald Pleasence and doing what everyone always does with Donald Pleasence, which is to say he's such a great actor. About Pleasence, he said that when they were shooting, he wasn't exactly sure if Pleasence was really bringing much to what they were attempting here, and then he saw the dailies and he realized that he was completely wrong.
Oh,
that
wow.
that seeing it on screen, you can see the subtle things that Pleasance was doing that carried and created much character and put a lot of stuff on the screen that he just wasn't aware of in the moment while shooting things.
Yeah, because he's not playing it. In some of the other films we've covered, he's played things a bit more broad. He's like deliberately going for some comic business and stuff like that. But he's not doing that here. He's taking it pretty seriously.
But he was Deodato was comparing York to Pleasance, and speaking about York as a more limited actor, and I don't get me wrong, I would agree from the perspective that Deodato is speaking about. Mainly because Pleasance had much more experience at that point. At least a decade and a half more experience starting with his stage work. But at the same time, I find no fault with what York is doing on screen. It's interesting to get the perspective of a director who worked with both of them on the same picture, and to have him draw a stark difference between the two of them. And I just think it's a difference in what is being projected that you can see in the room, and something that you notice when you're watching the film back. I think that's primarily what it boiled down to, really.
And I think the makeup effects here on his character are very good.
Yeah, I think that the Blu-ray really only gives up the ghost on the way the makeup effects are applied in a couple of shots. And and that's just high def. That's all. There's not much that can be done about that. There's a couple of places where you can see where the false skin kind of ends on his cheek early on, and there's there's a point at which they're taking like a skin sample from him when he's in the hospital, where it's just obviously a latex overlay of some sort, some kind of false skin overlay that they're snipping with the scalpel. But those are incredibly minor things. It's like I don't need you to carve a bit of skin off of Michael York for me to feel like the movie's being truthful to life. So
yeah, where's your commitment, Michael? Come on.
Give up some flesh, man.
And do you think that there is an element of The Fly here in the way that his character is disintegrating? Do you think they were deliberately drawing on Cronenberg's version of The Fly?
That's a good question, because there's a little bit of body horror in this. Not much, just a touch. There's not, you're not watching the hideous transformations that are evident in your average David Cronenberg special effects extravaganza. But the differences in the change over time is stark enough that you could, they may have been thinking a little bit about that, but they also knew that they were, we're not going that far. We're just doing essentially kind of advanced aging on an actor. And it's never at any point that you cannot tell that it is the actor. We're not getting into some kind of, like I say, there's nothing transformative in this that isn't just attributable to simply doing aging makeup. But there's a little bit of that. I do think that York is not being served well by the false teeth. As an actor who already has a pronounced jaw, That upper plate that they have on him with the false teeth seems to make his lip and his face kind of jut out a little further than would be than would be natural, unless you're just willing to roll with it and kind of think about it as this is, these alterations to his dental structure as doing that. We all know it's a dental plate, but it's still fairly interesting. I did think that at some point that they might try to pull something Cronenberg-esque by having some of those teeth come out, but they did not.
Yes. Yeah. No bits drop off.
No. Good way to put it. No bits drop off. Good. Yes.
Yeah. And he has a sort of love interest in the film, played by Edwidge Fenech, who I believe was returning to horror films after quite a long period of being away from that kind of movie.
Yeah, I think it had been well over a decade since she'd been in a giallo.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I guess just because they were not, the popularity was wearing off the kinds of movies that she was doing. And so she'd moved into comedies. Most of if you look at her CV, most of the 70s from 75 onwards are comedies where she's playing the teacher or the doctor or the cop. Or the nurse.
You forgot to put the word sexy in front of every one of those descriptors.
Well, I thought that was, we could take
that's
that as
implied,
read.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so she comes back to it here, and she is approaching 40 in this movie. She's not far off 40. And he is, actually I looked it up because he's supposed to be, his character is supposed to be 35, but he was actually 45 when they shot this, which kind of makes sense because then they can age him down a little bit at the beginning, and then they can just gradually age him up until well past 45.
And I think that they do that effectively. And
Yeah,
I think
really
I
well.
think that they do the same thing. I mean, Edwidge, she's a luminous, gorgeous lady, no matter how you put it. And once again, a little behind the scenes from Deodato in that interview is that Fenech definitely always was willing to disrobe on camera, and she does in this film as well. The way Deodato decided to shoot the lovemaking scene between her and York, with both of them nude, he claims that Miss Fenech was not as physically stunning as she was, say, 10 years previous.
Oh.
And
Well, who is?
well, precisely. But and at the same time, he wasn't saying this because he was trying to denigrate her at all. He was saying that that's why he chose to shoot that scene the way he shot it, and that it pissed the producers off because they were wanting, full bore, full frontal nudity, the whole 9 yards that they're fully expecting when they hire Edward Fenech. And he flat out said in the interview, he says, "I'm not going to do that to a woman who's not as fit as she once was. I'm not going to put that in on the big screen."
Yeah.
And I thought that was what I thought at first was him being a bit of a sexist. His reasons for it are, I'm not going to do that to this lady. I'm not going to do it to her. And we were able to shoot it, and she retains her beauty and her dignity without us having to do something stupid. And I kind of was impressed by his way of thinking about it, and that he was just unwilling to put her in that position, even though she was apparently willing.
Right. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she is playing, her character is Hélène Martel, and she's playing a French character. And Edwidge Fenech was French, or she was born in France in real life, although her parents, I think one is Maltese, one was Italian. And I read in one, I've got a review that we can look at later that talks about her using her natural French accent. But in one of the books I read, I can't remember if it was Troy Howarth's book or the Cannibal Holocaust book, mentions that she was dubbed by somebody else. So I don't know if that's her real voice or not, because it does sound very French.
Yeah, I always assumed that that's her voice in this film because most of her scenes are played with York, and that is definitely his voice. So I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, and it's definitely Donald Pleasence as well. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I don't hear it. Okay, in a film in which one character is dubbed and others are not. In other words, I think this was shot with sync sound. I'm not 100% sure, but it certainly looks that way. There is only one character in the movie that has any has any real screen time where I felt like I was definitely looking at someone who's being dubbed, and that's the actress who plays Donald Pleasence's character's daughter.
Oh, right, yes.
And it's very obvious on the soundtrack because Donald Pleasence sounds like he's in that room they're speaking in, and she sounds like she's in a booth somewhere. So
right.
And I didn't get that impression. I didn't get that impression when listening to Miss Finnick. So I think that must be. That's what I'm going with. I think that's actually her voice, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't be.
Yeah. So she's played by Antonella Ponziani, who apparently is a singer and saxophonist, as well as an actress.
It took me about 2 seconds to figure out what word you actually just said there. Okay, good.
But maybe she was, maybe she didn't speak English, and that's why they had to dub her one.
Don't know. I don't know. She's definitely mouthing the dialogue in English. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, so shall we have a go at a plot summary? Although
certainly.
I'm assuming most of you have seen this film.
We're hoping that you have, because there are things we probably intend to spoil.
Yeah, well, what's interesting with this film is they don't hide who the killer is for very long.
No, not at all.
They give you, there's one red herring, and then they quickly just go, oh, it's fine, we're just going to show you who did it. So I've got a plot summary here in the Cannibal Holocaust book, but there's a couple of points in here which I think are incorrect, but anyway. So, not long before the start of a concert by famous pianist Robert Dominici, a doctor is barbarically killed in her office. And that's your classic Giallo POV murder. With a sword, which is rather dramatic. At the end of the concert, Robert and his fiancée, Susanna, have a discussion, that's not Edwidge Fenech, that's someone else, have a discussion which develops into an argument and ends with them splitting up. I don't remember them splitting up.
They do have an argument, but I wouldn't say they split up.
No, it's not all over. The woman takes refuge in the arms of an occasional lover who is also Robert's friend. And because we should mention there are some shots near the beginning where you see somebody, we don't see their face, but somebody is having ninja lessons, it looks like.
Yes, ninja lessons, all the rage in the 80s, and I'm not joking.
Technically, it's called kendo, according to this. And the teacher is Hal Yamanuchi, who we've also talked about on this podcast before, because he pops up in some of those post-apocalypse films.
True.
So anyway, this guy, it turns out later on, is also a kendo student. But then Susanna decides to return to her man, and it says here in Perugia, but I don't think he's in Perugia. I don't know where they are. Anyway, after having telephoned Robert, she sets off towards the house. But before she can reach her destination, she is killed by a mysterious assassin. Now, we should mention the murder scene here at the train station in a little bit of detail, because I felt like this was very clearly inspired by Argento.
It's a very deep red.
Yeah, it's very deep red, and even a little bit similar to one of the killings in Suspiria, but particularly the opening murder in deep red with the slow motion push through a plate glass window and lots of blood everywhere.
It's a very effective sequence. I can see why Deodato would want to have put his face on the screen right before this murder set piece.
Yeah. And then in comes Donald Pleasence as Inspector Daddy. And it says here he's investigating the case but knows no more than that the culprit is a young man of about 30 years of age. Now, where does he get that from? I forgot. I thought he assumes the killer is 30 because he assumes the killer is Robert, not because he's got a clue that the killer is 30. Or have I missed something there?
I cannot remember the exchanges of dialogue at the murder scene, so I'm not 100% sure where they're getting that. I do think that in general, police have a general tendency to, when they're dealing with a murder of this kind of viciousness, it is almost always a younger person. But I don't know. I'm not sure what they're aiming for there. I would have to go back and rewatch the movie again to see if there's some kind of discussion of age.
I think he talks later on about he knows the killer must be 30, but that's because he thinks the killer is our man, Robert, not because it's just some hunch that he's got. So,
well, he thinks it's some kind of crime of passion, essentially. He thinks it's, born out of jealousy or something of that nature. So,
because he finds out... Anyway, yeah. Robert is distraught when he hears the news of Susanna's death, and he decides to break up with Helen Martel, with whom he's been having an affair. Now, that isn't true either. That's a mistake, right? They don't get together until after his girlfriend's dead.
This is this is the time in which one would look for comfort in the arms of another.
Yes. So this plot summary is all wrong. Anyway, so they have a sort of night where they get together and realise that they do love each other. But then he leaves to go to Venice because he is getting sick and his hair is coming out. And there's a scene where he goes to a bathroom in a services on his way to Venice, and he's brushing his hair and it's coming out. And then a bald man comes in. He's like, "Oh, yeah, don't worry. That happened to me when I turned 40. And then he just beats the guy almost to death.
And that is the first point in the film where we get the violence that this disease is supposedly going to push him into as a character. Yeah.
So if we haven't already guessed that he's the killer, I think that's a giveaway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Well, unless, I mean, in some movies, this could be putting front and center just a gigantic red herring. It's like, just because he's violent doesn't mean he's a murderer. And it's like, I don't know, that's pretty far there. He's a little out of whack.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So he's having some medical tests, and he's told that he has this disease, a very rare disease called progenia, which is usually only found in children, and which causes really dramatic premature aging. And I think we've talked about this before, how in the Italian medical profession, patient-doctor confidentiality doesn't seem to exist, because the doctor says, "Oh yeah, there's this other kid who's got it that I know who happens to live quite close to here," and then the next scene, is Robert Dominici looking over the hedge at this kid. So the doctor must have told him where he lived. And I'm like, surely.
I'm not sure what the rules for disclosing medical information to of your patients to other individuals. I'm not sure what the rules are in Italy. In the United States, medical professionals are not allowed to do that. There's an entire series of rules and laws that are set up to wall that kind of stuff off. If a person wants to give out their own medical information, that's different, but medical professionals are supposed to not do that. In Italy, I'm guessing maybe they just have big discussions around a table with a coffee mug in each hand. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. So
off you go. Maybe there's a kind of phone book that you can look in where it's just
and out beside the name it says, hey, has breast cancer or whatever.
So he pops his head over the fence to look at this little boy swinging on a swing. But it's actually got the face of an old man. Now, this is not in the credits. It's not even listed uncredited.
Yeah.
And it's not in this book. But I am convinced that little boy is Deep Roy.
And I think you're right. He kept
loads like him.
He looked so much like him, and it was such a... there was something lurking at the back of my head every time I watched the scene where I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure I know that face from somewhere, just not made up to look this old. But I think you're right. It's Deep Roy. I'm pretty sure.
Which is interesting because, as you said, we talked about this earlier. No, that isn't even mentioned in the commentary track. So maybe we've made a breakthrough with this film here.
Yeah. I'm not sure that anybody else was curious enough to sit there and puzzle through it and go, wait a minute, is that who I think that is?
When Phantom of Death was shot, Deep Roy was about 35. So it could very well have been him. So anyway, I think that's quite interesting if that is him. Because he is shown very prominently in the original trailer as well. The sort of look of horror where he's looking at this kid and this kid looks back at him. And then his mum comes and takes him away. So he knows what he's got. It's getting worse, But the disease is also causing him, as it says here, as the condition progresses, his hatred of the human race grows stronger. But he does love a dog. So he's not all bad.
That I found an interesting addition to the story that didn't really need to be there. He's already starting to age to the point where anyone who sees him thinks of him as an older man, and he runs across this bedraggled, abandoned dog in the park and kind of adopts him. And the dog has has one eye that's obviously it's all white, so clearly the dog only has one functioning eye. And so I guess the idea here is that he's prematurely aging, and this dog is clearly a senior dog and up in years and has been through a lot. And so they're attempting to draw a parallel where we're seeing him able to be sympathetic toward this creature who he sees as kind of suffering from age the same way that he is.
Yeah. The trouble is, this is the TV movie of the week stuff.
Yeah.
Because now we're feeling, because it's making us think, oh well, if he loves a dog, he can't be all bad.
It is odd. We have here, friends, a movie of many parts, and some of them really kind of stand out as not piecing perfectly together. There's definitely some square pegs in round holes at times with this story. The movie asks us to be sympathetic toward Michael York's character, but at the same time, he is a taunting, ruthless murderer. All to no real. I mean, one would wonder why he is being driven to this, unless it is just this bizarre disease that is putting him in the position of wanting to be a killer, to kill these people. But he ends up murdering people. He ends up murdering a cop who has nothing to do with his life at all. And so the movie is pulling us back and forth. It's wanting us to be sympathetic toward him, but at the same time, showing him to be a completely heartless, murderous bastard.
Yeah, you mentioned the taunting there. Because he's ringing Donald Pleasence up all the time to taunt him. How is he doing that? How does he know Donald Pleasence's home phone number?
Well, see, that's just it. Much like medical information, the Italian people will just give out every phone number in the book. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And he seems to know when he's at the cafe and rings him there as well. And it made me think of, because obviously this is written by, we didn't mention it before, Gianfranco Clerici and Vincenzo Menino, who also wrote The New York Ripper.
And this is apparently kind of a variation on that same script.
Yeah. Because in that, obviously there's a lot of phone calls to the cop. Only there's less quacking in this one.
For which I'm personally thankful, but yeah.
So they updated that bit, but it seems I don't quite see the point in the taunting phone calls.
I don't either. It feels
really
as
anything.
It feels. Don't get me wrong. It gives us the excuse for one of the most entertainingly over the top Donald Pleasence moments in the history of cinema, but the taunting of the cop. Once again, it's an element of the story that just seems to work against having some sympathy for the character. If he is being driven to murder, that's one impulse. Oh, but if he's being driven to be a taunting murderer who's taking great pleasure in messing with the cop who's attempting to find him.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end they try to paper over it. I mean, maybe paper over it is the wrong way to put this, but by having him say that I kept calling you because I wanted you to stop me, and it's like you could have made it a hell of a lot easier than that, man.
Yeah, because there's the whole scene in the park where he kind of tells Inspector Daddy where the next murder is going to be, so that he can catch him and stop him. And then, like you said at the end, he's like, I wanted you to stop me. I'm like, well, you could have just, you were right there in the police station. You could have made it very easy. But he's like, is he wanting to stop him, or is he enjoying the crimes, or is he conflicted? Is part of his brain knowing that he needs to be stopped? There's a really interesting scene where he's in Venice and he visits his old priest friend, played by Giovanni Lombardo Radice, just does one scene where he comes to confess. And it's they're old school chums, but he doesn't recognize him because obviously now he looks like he's about 70. And he confesses that he has murdered and he might do it again. So he seems to be conflicted. He knows he needs to be stopped, but there are more things he could have done about it if he cared that much.
And I have to say, that's a very good scene.
It is, yeah.
It's very well acted by the two, and it carries a lot of weight, while at the same time making me, not having been raised Catholic, I get very curious about these procedures in the Catholic Church, especially the confessional, because they're just doing this out in the open.
Well, I know. I'm pretty sure there's normally a booth for that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I was not raised in the Catholic faith, so I have no knowledge of this myself. But it's like, do you do this in a public place where there are people around? It's like...
But I guess because the whole point was he had to see his face, because it's all about, don't you recognize me? I'm your friend. Blah, blah, blah.
That's true. That's very true.
But it's a good scene. If you need somebody to just come in and be brilliant in one scene, Giovanni Lombardo Radice is your guy.
Definitely. He's always good. Usually plays a scumbag, and so it's weird to see him playing a priest. So
yeah, a nice priest, which is not very often. In giallo and Italian thrillers, they usually turn out to be bad guys.
Fair point. Yeah, generally, as soon as you spot the slightly squirrely female who's absolutely gorgeous, or a priest in a giallo, it's like, well, it's one of the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially in Venice as well. It could be a priest dressed as a woman.
Also true. When one runs out of inspiration, why not combine the two cliches?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to read much more of the plot summary, really, because I want to save some excitement. I guess we could mention, in case people haven't seen it. So as he's learning more about this disease, he then finds out that Helene, Edwidge Fenech's character, is pregnant.
With his child.
So the film, it seems to sort of plays around with time. We go from things happening on consecutive days to then suddenly it's been 2 months later. And then towards the end of the film, it's been a year.
But I will say that they do at least verbally spell that stuff out. When he goes to see his mother, they do mention that he's been there. His mother's becoming worried with him and has a conversation with him because he's just been there really doing nothing for 2 months. That's when he gets the call from Fenech's character telling him that she's pregnant. And it's like, okay, well, enough time has passed that this is, and they're letting us know how much time has passed so that we're not sitting there going, when did she do that pregnancy test? Wait a minute,
By the end of the film, I think Inspector Daddy mentions it's been about a year since the first murder or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's spread over this longer period. So once he finds out that she's pregnant, he's then worried about what the baby is going to inherit from him, and there's all kinds of drama.
Because understand, apparently this disease he has is genetic in nature, so he fears that.
Well, his mum did look old, to be fair.
Yeah, but not prematurely old.
Well, we don't know.
I don't think his mum had him at the age of 6, so yeah.
Yeah, so there's lots of drama, there's lots of running around, and Donald Pleasence shouting in the street, and it kind of ends where you would expect it to end.
And pretty effectively, I have to say.
Yeah. And it ends with some very sad music playing at the end to make us feel sorry for him, kind of.
For the mad murderer who killed innocent people and threatened others. Yeah.
But also, he killed his doctor who knew what he had.
Right.
And was going to try and find out more about it. Why did he do that? Well, Donald Pleasence is the cop. He says, maybe he killed the doctor because he had something to hide. But if he was trying to hide that he had this disease, why is he then a few scenes later having loads of medical tests and finding out all about the disease?
Well, see, that's just it. That's where I feel that the script, missed a possibility here, in that if it is the news from his doctor, because it would appear to be true that the news from his doctor that causes the first murder, if that sets him off on this, if this turns him into a murderer, then it would have been very interesting because they include his mother in the story, and we actually see her in a couple of scenes, it would have been very interesting if what we learn over the course of the time of the film is that there were unhinged elements to his psyche all the way back to childhood. And therefore he was mentally disturbed to begin with. And that they could even play with it being one of the reasons why he is such an accomplished musician. This news set him off and essentially made him crazy and unbalanced him, making him off balance, maybe even. But they never pull the trigger on that. They never actually pull a thread into the storyline about that. So what we're left with is the idea that it is the disease itself that is making him a murderer, which I honestly think it would have been a smarter move to build a backstory about his mental health into the character, so that the news that he does not have much longer to live, that his youth is going to go away very quickly, no matter what he does, I think honestly that kind of diagnosis would drive any person a little nuts. And so having had, if they just set that up a little bit better, I think it could have been a more satisfying bit of characterization.
But they didn't. And we're left with what we've got.
No,
yeah, it's definitely worth watching. As always, Donald Pleasence is great. And it is quite an interesting story. And it's also just interesting to see Edwidge Fenech back in a horror movie after quite a long gap, and to see what she was like as a more mature actress.
Well, I mean, you're right. She had kind of retired at this point. I mean, I think the only thing she'd done before that was like 4 years before it. And then after that, she's only very rarely on screen. She's in a film called Private Crimes. Well, actually, no, it's a TV series.
That's the one that she produced, isn't it? With Sergio
Martino.
Martino.
With Sergio Martino. So she's in that, and then in 2000 she's in a film, and then in 2007 she was coaxed by Eli Roth to do a piece in Hostel Part 2.
Oh yeah, which Deodato is also in.
Exactly. Wish I liked those films, but Eli Roth is extraordinarily miss with me. It is a shame, in my opinion. I mean, it's completely up to her, but it really is a shame that someone with as much experience in front of the camera as she had decided, to go behind the camera, to switch. And I do wonder, I'd love to get some insight into that. I'm sure that there's some good interviews out there with her, because it's not like she walled herself off from the public. No. I mean, it's nothing of that nature. But I would like to know what her thinking was, because I wonder if it was, vanity or a decision to step away because she didn't enjoy the work anymore. I'd be very curious, but she's always a pleasure. And in some ways, like I say, I haven't seen the Private Crimes episodes, but in a lot of ways, this is kind of her goodbye to the kind of films that I would be happy to see her in any day of the week.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten that this was kind of, I was going to say tombstone, but that's the wrong way to put it. But this is kind of a stopping point for that kind of thing for her.
I think Private Crimes came out on Blu-ray from Severin last year, which I haven't seen it yet, but I am curious about it.
I do need to see it, yeah.
Yes, well, she is wonderful as ever in all her films. And yeah, so definitely worth watching. And as you said, it's out on a really good Blu-ray now as well. So we've all got no excuse.
I can heartily recommend it. I really can.
There we go. Good, thank you. So that is it for us talking about Phantom of Death, I think. I think we've got it all well covered. So, but we'd love to know what you think about this film, because obviously this is a big one that most of you listening would have seen, I imagine. So do send us your thoughts on this one, and obviously just on any of the other films that we've talked about so far in the season. We do have an email, actually, I was going to read out.
Okay.
So Lee got in touch with us, and he talked, I think we were talking about Donald Pleasence, how he would often play around with props. Anyway, so he says that apparently Donald Pleasence would do that, because he'd play around with food and things like that in the scene so that the editor could only cut the scene in one way and not cut out any of his lines. So apparently that's why he liked to eat in sequences, to make sure that bits of his scene didn't get cut, apparently. So
Makes
I thought
sense.
that was quite an interesting thing that he mentioned. So thank you, Lee, for contacting us about that. And then we got into a long conversation about Jim Nicholson and the reason that some of those AIP films are still not available. But anyway, don't need to talk about that here. But yes, please do get in touch if you've got anything you want to share with us. Our next film then, it was going to be another... It seems this season has accidentally become a Narmsploitation season, because we're going to do The Last Platoon, aka Angel Hill. So that'll be a fun one to have a look at.
This one's a more difficult one to see.
It is, yes. You had to pick this up for me from the special antenna because I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yes. Without the special antenna, I don't think we could have included this in the season. And neither of us have seen it, so this is going to be an interesting viewing situation, because most of this season is stuff that we had seen already. Everybody's seen Puma Man. I mean, Puma Man is on the television almost every day of the week.
Certainly on mine.
Phenomena is pretty well known, you know? But Last Platoon is going to be a first time watch for both of us, and that's a little odd. We don't have many of those in this season.
No. Well, let us know, anyone, if you've seen it already. If you know the film, tell us what you think about it. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Please do subscribe and share and, all of that good stuff. Oh, yeah, I found out this week that we were in the top 10 Film Stories Podcast Network downloads for July. So thank you, everybody, for that. And then it turns out we've actually been in the top 10 all year, pretty much. So I think that's particularly exciting. So we're doing something right.
I guess so. It brings me back to the days when we were the first few years of doing the NashyCast, and we used to joke that we're easily in the top 5 of Paul Naschy podcasts out there. So clearly we're doing something right with this podcast as well. Our popularity grows daily.
Exactly. So thank you, everybody, for listening and telling your friends and all of that sort of stuff.
I am very happy with the additions to my wardrobe from our T-shirt shop.
Oh, yes.
Especially the one that has Deodato's name on it. That's one that I actually intend to. This coming weekend, I actually intend to be wearing at Monsterama down in Atlanta. I'm looking very much forward to sporting that T-shirt around as I limp from place to place.
Nice. Well, give us a report on Monsterama next episode.
Oh, certainly. Of course, it's very non-European to a large extent. I'm doing a number of panels, and I was going to be interviewing Lloyd Kaufman, but he has had to bow out because he's caught COVID.
Oh,
and
no.
And at his age, I'm
bad luck.
a little concerned.
Yeah.
I I always think of him as such a vital guy, but in his place, I'll be interviewing French Stewart, the actor who most people would know from Third Rock from the Sun, but he's been in a zillion different movies and television shows over the years.
Cool.
Yeah, I just finally got around to watching Jennifer Lynch's film Surveillance from I think 2006 or 2008, and he plays a scumbag cop in that movie. Let's just say he's definitely breaking from the character he played on Third Rock from the Sun. Right. But he's had so much work. I'm looking forward to interviewing him.
Yeah.
And there's a lot.
Cool.
There's a lot going on that weekend.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward. It can't just be me name dropping all the time. So this will be your chance to name drop from Monsterama.
Well, last year was so wonderful. I got to interview Diane Baker. I interviewed Diane Baker, and it was just a fantastic interview. And I keep waiting. I've waited a full year now for the video of that interview to be put online, like a lot of the other things that went on at Monsterama last year, and it's still not been put up. But Miss Baker and I had a really great time, and she so much so much information from her about her long career, and it was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to talking to Mr. Stewart as well. This is going to be fun.
Cool. All right. Well, good luck with that, and tell us all about it next time. So on that note, thank you everybody for listening. We'll be back hopefully again in August, although anything can happen. But yeah,
it's gonna be a weird August, but we will give it a good try.
We'll do our best. All right. Thanks everybody. Bye for now. Are you going to say bye too?
Oh yeah. Take out this large gap. It felt better just to leave it the way it was. But bye everyone.
I might just
how's that? Edit away, sir.
I'll leave all that in. That's quite funny. All right.
The puma man. We must find him and kill him.